The idea that you're going to go do something by yourself is so foolish, is so stupid. If your goals were so small that you could possibly accomplish them by yourself, then you need a bigger goal. If your goal is so small, if you think so little of yourself, if you think you're such a piece of shit, because that's what it really means. If your goals are so tiny that you think so little of yourself that you could possibly accomplish your biggest goals by yourself, then you need to get a bit of self-esteem, and you need to set some higher goals, and you need to bring a team around you that could help you accomplish those goals. You run a business. I'm not going to talk about the details for your privacy. Why don't you just do everything yourself there, bro? Why don't you do every single thing in the business by yourself?
Ridiculous. I've coached too for my business, and it's just like you need that.
Why doesn't Jeff Bezos, he's got, $110 billion or something like that, even after making a deca-billion dollar mistake, okay? Why doesn't Bezos personally deliver those packages? That's a lot. Think of how much money he could save if he could just deliver them all by himself.
Wasting time. It's terrible economics.
Yeah, your time is your most valuable asset. I know that you're smart enough to know that. Your time is your most valuable asset. And as a business leader, what you really are is you're a good time manager. You have to set a tone for a business. You have to inspire the team. You have to live the shit that you talk about, because if you don't, they won't believe in you. And if they don't believe in you, they can't work hard. Okay? So you have to do that. You have to believe in the vision. You have to believe in what you're doing. It has to be a mission. It's not something that you're doing to make some money. It's not some asshole's drop shipping business. Some dumbass thinks you're going to be, you need to have competitive advantages. If you don't know what your competitive advantages are, you don't have any. And you don't have a business, you have a short-term job until it gets commoditized, and then you're going to try to find another short-term job, or you're going to be a Lyft driver or Uber driver who's like, well, I'm just doing this in the spare time till my next business. Yeah, you got a lot of spare time. So you're doing it 60 hours a week, you got a lot of spare time. That is your new business. So the people that don't believe, they're pervasive, they're everywhere. They're pervasive. People that don't value their time, people that, they value a couple dollars more than they value their time. That's all right, but you're going to be stuck at the bottom. You're going to be stuck at the middle at best. It's very middle class. You don't get to make millions of dollars with a middle class mindset. There's a reason that middle class people don't have millions of dollars. It's the way they're thinking. It's not that they couldn't do it, it's their thought process. You don't get to make millions of dollars with middle class mindset. And people that can't solve a couple $1,000 problem or $1,000 problem, a few $1,000 problem, I don't want those. They're not going to solve hundreds of thousands of dollars of problems. They're not going to solve $1 million problems. So I don't want to think about anything. I can't spend time on any new project that's not worth tens of millions of dollars. I don't have time. I don't have time. And and I have some mentors that would tell me that I'm thinking too small myself. So I have some mentors. I have two people that I spend time with several times a year that are multi-billionaires now, each of them. And when one of them, when I met him, when he was very poor still and only had about 600 million, he was telling me that you shouldn't be involved in any project that doesn't have the upside to be $1 billion project. If it's not $1 billion, what are you doing? Your time's too valuable. Maybe I have low self-esteem. Maybe I'm not thinking that big yet. But I can't be involved in something that doesn't have a multi-million-dollar payout, because most of it's going to fail. You already know that. You already know that. So if there's not a multi-million-dollar payout, what do you do? Something else. Do something else. You're not creative enough to do something else. You're not smart enough to build the team. Yeah, do something else. Build a team. It's the biggest sickness. It's the biggest mental illness in this area. Is I'll do it myself. I'll do it. No, you can't. No, you can't. When I hear that, I just think I don't spend any time with those people. I just think they're stupid. It's really a stupid thought. It's really a stupid thought. I've seen people fumble around so bad. I'm disgusted looking at it. I'm tired of looking at it. And it's made me a lot more harsh in who I even want to have as a client. It's made me screen much harder in who I even want to have as a client. Because you have these people that, there's a lot of them, and they're utter dumbasses. They think, I'm going to watch a video on YouTube and I'm going to figure it out by myself. Have you ever heard of a champion that didn't have coaches? Is there a champion, anybody that didn't have fantastic coaches? Just name one. Tell me who it is. Alexander the Great had Aristotle for a mentor. Do you think that might be useful? Aristotle had Plato as a mentor. Plato had Socrates as a mentor. Do you know any champion? Do you know anybody holding a trophy on TV, holding a fucking champion trophy with the universal sign of fucking victory, flexing his upper body with a fucking trophy in his hand, like a fucking king of the universe? I never seen a person like that didn't have good coaches. About the time you admit to yourself that you're a dumbass, then you'd have enough humility and enough smartness to be like, oh, maybe I should go get help with that. About the time you could admit you're a dumbass, then somebody has the humility to go get help. But a lot of people like their ego more than they like real results. The majority of men would prefer to have their egoic story about they're already a hero, they're already doing great, and they prefer their ego story more than they actually prefer real results. And their friends are going to affirm that, because if their friends told them something different, then they'd be holding themselves to a different standard, and they'd be expected to do better too. They'd just rather be, oh, we're doing good, everything's good. Well, good is the mortal enemy of great or excellent or fantastic or exceptional. So I don't want to do good, I want to be exceptional. And I understood a long time ago, in my early 20s, I understood that if you engage in normal behaviors, you'd have a normal outcome. Only a true fool thinks you could do what everybody else does. You can engage in average behaviors and have an exceptional outcome. It might as well be the definition of stupidity. So we're not going to have a nice talk here today if you can't tell. It might as well be the definition of stupidity, is thinking that you can do what everybody else does and you're going to have a different outcome than them. So, if you want to have exceptional outcomes, you're going to have to engage in exceptional behaviors. You could list right now, and I'm going to ask you to, in fact, what are 3 major sacrifices you made in the last year? What are 3 major sacrifices you made for your business that a normal person would never do? Part of my personality is, that's a big problem that I had, that I'm still recovering from, by the way. I'm still in the process. After working on it for more than a decade, I'm still working on it day to day, is I like to build a perfect little something, I want to build a perfect little something. And then, but if you spend all your time managing your perfect little something, you miss out on all the huge things that are out there that you could have been a part of. And you got to go build systems to train somebody else to do your perfect little something. You weren't doing it perfect anyway, by the way. You and I were doing it pretty good. Exceptional compared to a bunch of buffoons, but you were doing something pretty good. All right? And then you got to hand it over to somebody else that you could train them to do it 90% as good. But then you got to go reallocate your time and energy and thought process to a different project and build that very well, and again, and integrate the systems. And that's what a smart executive does. That's what a smart business owner, a smart entrepreneur does. Most people like their ego too much. Most people like their ego more than results. That might as well be a theme today. Most of you like your ego more than you would actually like to have success. Most of you will fail. Most of you will have a piece of shit life compared to what you could have had, because you like your ego. You like to tell yourself a story more than you like to actually do shit and have a successful outcome. And that's a real shame. I did that for too long. I'm not doing it anymore. You only get to live once. I'm not betting on an afterlife. And how much, you only got so much time. How do you want to spend it? What do you want to spend it with? So when I think of the opportunity cost, the actual suffering that I personally endured, the awfulness that I got to watch other people endure that still rattles around in your head for the rest of your life. And then you think of the opportunity cost of what could have been, instead of all that unnecessary stupidity, what we could have created instead. And that's so painful. And I don't mean to say it in a dramatic way, but I just have such a harsh negative thoughts when I think about those things. It's like no, far away from that. And I don't let any of it. I don't want any of that shit around me. You can't. You ruin you just. Not from my mommy, not from my friend from back in the day. No. If you're talking to your friends, and if you can't even have a conversation with your current friends about what you're doing now, when they start getting jealous or they start, when you start being successful, it ain't got to be wildly successful. When you start being a bit more successful than your current peer group, and they start trying to hold you down instead of trying to push you forward and come with you, you just got the fucking wake up call that you're not supposed to spend time with those people anymore. And you're a dumbass, so you'll do it anyway. I know that because I was a dumbass and I did it anyway. And you do that for a while, and I just hope you're less of a dumbass than I was. And instead of letting these people linger around for years in the aftermath, cut them off after a couple months of this. Cut it off after a couple months. Don't wait years like I did. You can never have that time back. You start having conversations with those people from your past, and they start, the conversation inevitably reverts back to things that you did back in the day. Because if you talk about things that are happening now, it just makes them resentful. Some people don't want, there'd be some people from my past that when I started having those type of experiences, way before then, when I had much less cool experiences than that, they literally accused me of lying to them about things that were objectively true, things that I'm like, no, I do that all the time. And then you realize, why is my friend, why does he think You're like, oh, because he can't ever picture himself doing that. Because he can't ever imagine himself doing that. And it's more painful to say that about our relationship than for him to admit his faults with himself. He can't picture himself doing it, so he'd rather think that it doesn't exist. Okay. He don't see the path. Or he does see the path, but he realizes how much work that would be from where he's at to where he wants to be. And he'd rather just stay there and live in a willful delusion instead of doing what's necessary to go create a better outcome. So, yeah, you pay a steep cost being around those people. I think the cost isn't worth it. You're going to die sooner than you'd like, I don't want to spend any more time with those people. If I can talk somebody else out of it, if I can save a good guy like you or some of the others here from spending years with those people instead of months, you know who they are, you're thinking about them while I'm talking about it. I don't want to be around the wrong guy. I don't care if he wants to give me money right now. If taking 20 grand and putting a $50,000 or $100,000 liability on your balance sheet is not a smart idea. So I just want to think, what are the right things to do, big picture, that are going to create the most wealth and prosperity, but even more important than that, and I'm not saying this for any noble reason. I'm not a noble person. I couldn't give a shit less about a lot of these ethical or moral or politically correct nonsense. The relationships, there was a time when I wouldn't do anything if I didn't know the value of doing that thing. If I didn't know that, if I couldn't declare a monetary value of engaging in a behavior, there's a time where I wouldn't do anything. What's it worth? What's it worth? And today I think very differently. I think I don't want to do anything if I don't know the value of the relationship. I don't care if they're short-term money or long-term money, but I want to be around people that we're going to go find some more money. We're going to go find some more money. All money means is freedom. When I say the word money, you might as well just translate that as freedom. That you have the freedom to spend all money. The best thing money buys you is your freedom to not spend time doing shit you don't want to do, and to not spend time with people that you don't want to spend time with. I mean, those are the number one, number two things that you could buy with some money is the freedom to do what you want to do instead of some fake ass shit that you feel like you have to do. You have the freedom to go hang out with people that are, who also cared about their lives and wanted to go do something instead of hanging out with a bunch of bums. That's all money means. So, when you hear money, all I'm saying is freedom. All I'm saying is you have the freedom to live your life how you want to. Just go get some tattoos and ride your motorcycle if that's what you want to do. With no judgment. I mean that sincerely. It's like if that's your calling and your heart to be a free-spirited guy, and go get some tattoos and ride your fucking motorcycle. Go hang out and buy a fucking island. So Branson bought his own island. But you do whatever, do what you want. Do what you want. Deep in your heart, don't you just want to spend your time doing whatever the fuck you want? That's what everybody wants to do. But that's the thing, is like everybody, they focus on that, and then if they don't see the path to it right now, then they don't want to take the next step. And that's where everybody fucks up. Because like every fucking bum sleeping in a fucking sidewalk or a tent outside over here, every fucking bum in the world has the same goals that me and you would have. Every fucking bum wants hot girls and more money and more of this, and it's all the same things that everybody else wants. And then it's just this, a person who would set their mind to like, well, how do I solve problems? How do I help other people solve their problems? Or how do I contribute to the economy or to other people in a way that they'd be happy to reciprocate? I mean, just very easy examples. If I could help you make an extra $1 million this year, I bet you'd be delighted to give me $300,000. You'd give me $700,000, wouldn't you?
I'd give you $1 million if you teach me how to make $1 million.
He'd give it all to me. If he could replicate it by himself, he'd like to give me 100% of it, which is a great answer, by the way. I never even think of that one. So, no, I didn't. That's a great answer. I fully agree. I understood it immediately and fully agree. I never thought of it that way. It's like, so yeah, if I could help you make $1 million this way, you would pay me $1.1 million if you could go replicate it next year.
Skill, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to the basic example I was going with, and I agree fully, and I like that. The basic thing I was just thinking, if I can help you make $1 million, I'd be happy to give me $300,000. And would you like to do that only once? And you'd like to do it an infinite number of times, as rapidly as possible. We'd be dear friends, wouldn't we? Success is a series of little victories like that. Success is doing the thing when you don't feel like it. Is waking up and feeling engaged and energetic to go do more. How can I contribute? What else can I do? What else can I do? What's the next opportunity? What's the next opportunity? What are the things that, like this young man said, what are the things that I need to outsource to other people even if it's my pet little project and the things that I'm best at, what are the things I need to build the team to go do that so I can go do the next opportunity and then systematize it and get onto the next opportunity. And those are people that make a lot of money. When I met Richard Branson a few years ago, he had 300 companies at the time. Do you think he runs 300 companies? Do you think he's there running the day-to-day everything on 300 companies? No, that's why he's got fucking $6 billion. That's why he's Sir Richard Branson. He's a fucking knight, and he's got fucking, $6 billion. In one of the most baller things I've ever seen, when I met him, I was on a cruise ship with several other people. I think one of our mutual friends was with us as well. And one of the most baller things I've ever seen in my life, we rented the whole cruise ship. We rented like a big cruise ship. We rented the whole cruise ship. We had a baller-ass private party there, okay? Richard Branson comes to do a talk at the thing. He fucking comes in on a helicopter. We're in the Caribbean Sea. He comes in, he lands in a helicopter on the cruise ship. He gets off the helicopter, he does a little chat with us for 45 minutes. He hangs out for a couple hours and socializes. He gets back on his helicopter, and he's off to whatever else he's doing. It was like really some James Bond shit. And everybody on that boat, and there's a lot of famous people on there, and you know a lot of their names. And everybody on that boat, you feel like you're doing real good in life until Richard Branson shows up in his helicopter, hangs out with you for a couple hours and bounces, tells you about his 300 businesses, told a different story about, he told a story that he was asked to do a little talk, it's a little chit-chat talk on stage somewhere. And they say, what can we pay you to blah, blah, we'll give you $100,000. He said, yeah, I don't have time, And so, then the money goes up, and it gets to a point like, we'll give you $1 million for an hour. And the hour can start from the time you touch down, from the time that the helicopter lands, and you can come in there and talk. If it's 20, 30 minutes, cool. And then get back to your helicopter and you're gone in 1 hour. And he said, for $1 million, he says, it's not one of my top 3 priorities this year. I can't spend my time on that. Thank you for the offer, but I can't do it for any price. Not one of my top 3 goals this year. Not one of my top 3 priorities. And that always rattled around in my head. When I heard him say that, I'm just like, noted. The few things that I think about incessantly, and I think they're the key drivers of real success, I just think they're absolutely the key drivers, is like, if you understood economics, and you understood psychology, and you were a good communicator, what the fuck else would you need to know in the world to get whatever you want? Tell me what the 4th thing is, and I bet it's a subset of one of those 3 things. So if what is economics? Economics is just the study of managing your resources wisely. It's, efficient allocation of your time and other resources. That's all economics is. So you don't have to have a fucking PhD in economics to think more judiciously of like, how do I want to spend my time and how do I best allocate my time and other valuable resources for best impact, over the course of my lifetime. That second thought about psychology, if you understood the stupid shit in your own brain, 2/3 of whatever you could learn about psychology is not about the others. 2/3 of what you could ever learn about psychology is the stupid shit you're doing to yourself. It's the stupid shit that your own dumbass brain is doing. And 1/3 probably applies to those other people that you think are crazy. But if you don't think you're half a fucking nutcase, then you're really in trouble. If you don't know that your brain does a lot of dumbass things, you're really in trouble. You're in a state of deep denial, and reality is going to persist longer than your delusion. And when you wake up, it's not going to be as pretty as the people that were aware that they were being a dumbass, that they had proclivities to do dumb shit, learned about that, and proactively avoided some of those dumbass things. So the people that think that psychology is all about everybody else and they're perfect, come on, they're really in trouble. And the third part is being a good communicator. I'd say the first 2 parts are, that's how does an economy function? How does a market function? How are the people in the marketplace? How are they thinking? And that third part, if you were able to communicate better with those people, wouldn't you have better outcomes? If you're managing your time and resources well, if you understood a lot of dumbass shit that you were prone to and that other people are as well, and you understood how to communicate well with the other people, wouldn't you be a natural leader in any damn environment you're in? Wouldn't success be the natural outcome for a person that understood those 3 things and did things when they didn't feel like it because they knew it was the right thing to do? The natural outcome would be a person that was, tremendously outperforming the others. You'd have more sex, you'd have cooler friends, you'd have more money, you have a better life. I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I just don't think there's a fourth thing that you need to do a deep dive on. If you understood how a marketplace was functioning, what people desire and what they're willing to trade off for, if you understood how the people are thinking about themselves and now and their past and their future, and if you could communicate well with those people, you'd have well above average outcomes. It'd be the natural thing. Yeah. I understood early in life, a lot of fallacies of logic or cognitive biases. I learned some of the things very early, and I took them seriously. The biggest cognitive bias is dumbasses think that those things don't apply to you. You're just like, oh, that's everybody else, There's 200 things that everybody else does to fuck up their life. Oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm too smart for that. No, you know what? I've worked with Nobel Prize winning PhDs, Richard Thaler, some others. I've worked with plenty of PhDs from top universities, people that won a Nobel Prize, understanding economics or understanding behavioral economics, behavioral finance. One of my professors took a class called behavioral finance. One of my professors is managing about $90 billion, and he's making hundreds of millions of dollars every year. He has partners. He himself is making multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not his net worth. He makes a couple few hundred million every year. Okay? And I talked to him in depth many times. A couple dozen times, had conversations with this guy. These are brilliant people, exceptional brains, exceptional outcomes, and those people with a PhD still have to remind themselves, with a PhD and an amazing track record, still have to remind yourself of all the dumbass things that a human brain is prone to do. Here's kind of the note that I want to put in your head, given that background. When I think of what I did from 18 till 29 in 10 and a half years, and then when I think about what I did that gave me the confidence. When I look back at that, I thought, God damn. And you got to look at all the fuck ups you made, all the dumbass shit you did. You had a very good outcome for a young fella, 29. But I had to think all the dumbass shit that I did that I could have done better and should have done better and I knew better and I shouldn't have spent time with that person. I should have spent more time with these people and I should have done this and I should have never done that. And you focus on those types. It's not a fucking celebration. You take a moment to acknowledge what you accomplished, and you should take a whole lot more moments thinking about how much you fucked up and what you could have done a lot better. And I thought like that and said, well, despite all these errors, despite an abundance of errors and stupidities, now that I know better on all those errors and stupidities, now that I have a good financial foundation, I call it a foundation. I wouldn't call that great success. It's a nice foundation though when you're still in your 20s. I thought, well, what can I do in the next decade? Now that I had a lot more social resources, more financial resources, I had a better brain, better intellectual resources. So if I could be a dumbass kid unloading a truck, and 10 years later have $1 million, real cash, real money, not some fuzzy shit on a balance sheet, like real money. I thought, well, if I could do that, couldn't I do a hell of a lot better in 10 years going forward? And I did. And and I think about that now. 40 is a big birthday where you contemplate your life a bit. And I've been a grumpy guy my whole life, by the way. But somebody wrote on YouTube a while back, said Derek's very cheery and very grumpy at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. No, I think that it's not a weird idea to think that I might have hundreds of millions of dollars, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars. That's not a ridiculous idea anymore. It was at one time. That's not a ridiculous idea anymore. And it's becoming a likelihood really. And I've been much more concerned about who I spend time with, how I spend that time, and staying far away from the wrong people, staying far away from contaminants that you hang around with stupid motherfuckers, it kind of rubs off on you. You hang around with people that don't have much ambition, kind of rubs off on you.